Welcome to that interview experience podcast. Got it right today. That's fantastic. My name's Ash Taylor. Thank you, Helen. That's brilliant. I'm with the wonderful Helen Sanders. How are you, Helen?
I am double wonderful today, Ash. You're never going to catch me out, I don't think.
I nearly did last week.
Yes, you did, actually. So how are you? Are you wonderful?
I am wonderful. Yeah, it's probably why I said it twice. Yeah, bit of Oasis in there. That's a cultural reference. Most people listening to this will have no idea.
I get it. I'm there.
So we have Olly Denhard with us today. How are you, Olly?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, not quite wonderful, but I'm good.
You will be. You will be by the time we finish with you, Olly.
Yeah, you'll be good. So, Olly, just for a bit of context, what do you do? Who do you do it for? What's the change you're making in your part of the world?
So I run an IT company called IT Trouble Free. We look after state primary schools is a big part of what we do. So making sure that their IT is working right and the equipment works and children can get taught and teachers can teach. And we also look after a number of sort of small businesses, generally speaking, mostly ones which have looking after people's data, so insurance brokers and IFAs and people like that have got specialist requirements to look after their data properly.
Cool. And you've got quite a big team now, haven't you? I know it's grown a lot in the last year, and the business you were in before was reasonable sized as well. So you've been through that interview process, I suppose, of having bringing people into the industry and to your business. So what are you looking for when you're recruiting? And I'm guessing there has to be some interest in IT, if that's a thing. I don't know.
Obviously not for you, Ash.
This technology
come across.
Stuff. Yeah. Obviously, the world's moved massively in the time I've been doing it, and it just continues to do it at an ever increasing speed. I think everybody's got some interest in technology now, even if that's because everyone's attached to a mobile or a tablet or something all of the time, even if it's not using a PC to do their job. I think interest in helping people is what we really look for, because that's ultimately what the business is about. I've sort of said for years, really, we're a customer service business first and foremost. It's just that we happen to help people with technology rather than helping them with, I don't know, their business or I don't know what else it might be. They're playing their sport better, or whatever another business might be doing. But it's customer focused and looking after people, working with people.
That's interesting. And how do you if you see a CV, for instance, and one lands on your desk, how do you start to see those traits or attributes within the CV? What are you looking for there that might give you an inkling that, okay, this person could be a fit and gets the whole customer service piece rather than it's just IT?
It's really hard from a CV. I think, however, whether you've got 20 years experience or if it's your first job or you're trying to get some work experience or whatever, I think whoever you are and whatever stage you're at, I think it's really, really tough. And honestly, I hate doing it from CVs, but we have to do it. I want to see that, particularly if we're talking about, young people, which obviously I know this is focused for, that you've got some desire to get up and do something. We don't want to see. Clearly, we want to see you've gone to school, you've gone to college, you're doing your education piece in the typical sense. But what else are you doing? Clearly, you won't have years of experience in IT to talk about, but show that you've done some work or you've done some charitable stuff or you're involved in a group or an organization, just doing something rather than I went to school. I think it's probably the easiest way I can put it.
Yeah, and you're right, because the CV is culturally, that's what we accept, isn't it? As business owners, when we're hiring, we accept that that's someone's opportunity to say to you, I'm looking for a new job, here's some information about me, but also I'm a human being, there's someone behind the CV. And for you, you can have someone who's 17, 18, who loves taking apart PCs and putting them back together again. And that's what you want to see on the CV. Not necessarily they've done an IT GCSE, maybe, but it's more the stuff they're doing in their own time, as well as if they've done, you can't just have the words customer service on a CV for it to mean anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It has to be how they show you that.
And I think, I guess, taking a step maybe slightly sideways from a traditional CV, doing something different if you can, if you get the opportunity. So maybe a video, or you know, an example of some work you've done. Perhaps if it, maybe not a video of you taking a PC apart, but if there's some stuff you're doing or something.
Give you kittens, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah. God, I don't know. It's been a while since I've done it. They might show me a thing or two now. But yeah, I think it's that traditional piece of paper, so to speak, with a, you know, list of GCSEs or things you're studying for. There needs to be something more than that. And you know, I think, you know, there's loads of technology out there that can help. So certainly perhaps doing a video just talking about you, or doing something you're doing, if it's appropriate in a, I don't know, if you're doing some volunteering or working with some other people, just showing what you're about, and you'll stand out anyway because you've done something other than send a piece of paper.
And so once you've got to the point where you've got a few people based on CV and however they've approached you as well, that extra bit, what do you do in the interview? How do you interview them, and what are you looking for?
So we tend to try and do some technical questions naturally, because we want, you know, we still need to gauge where people are at. We've had a few people to do work experience, and a few people, we had, I think we had 6, it was either 5 or 6 at my previous business, apprentices, and 1 at this business.
Right.
So, you know, naturally they're coming to learn, so you can't quiz them about really specific stuff necessarily. But it's about understanding who they are and what they're about and how they do things. One of my it's a little bit tough because I know it's a horrible question to answer, but the sort of favorite thing I like to try and ask is, what I say to people is, just tell me about yourself. And of course everyone thinks they have to talk about work, or you know, something specific to the job, but it's about trying to, hopefully not too hard, but trying to coax out of them a bit more about them, and a bit more about what they're about. And that's much more, again, particularly when you're young, you haven't got the opportunity to show experience, so it is about your character and what do you want to do, where do you want to go, that sort of stuff.
And I'd imagine that, tell me about yourself, what you're looking for there. If you help primary schools where, you know, you're not helping a bunch of IT people with their IT, you're helping people who day to day are in a stressful environment, stressful role, trying to keep the kids happy. And if their IT doesn't work, this person that you're interviewing potentially could be going in there to help them. So you're looking for someone that you can trust to wear your company t-shirt to go into that school and make a difference to them. Even if they can't fix it, they have to give them that confidence that they're there to help.
Absolutely. So much of what we do is about being that, hopefully someone's not too upset and shouting too much or whatever, but it's being that first point of contact for them to say, I've got this problem. And you can almost see it sometimes, particularly in stressful environments like teaching, because often, especially the last year, teachers are in a room on their own with a room full of children. They haven't got the help and support that they might have had. And they just want to say what their problem is. And your main job, whether you've been doing this 5 minutes or 20 years, is to just hear what they've got to say and give them the confidence that you're going to do something about it.
Reassurance, isn't it? Reassurance.
Absolutely. And it's, you know, I don't know everything now, so it is literally hear what they say, make some notes if it's necessary, and try and do something about it. And that might mean passing it off to someone else, it might mean you can go and get on with it, but it's trying to demonstrate that you can listen and, you know, be able to take that on board and take that stress away.
So
for you, it sounds like the CV is almost a kind of minimum entry requirement to get the interview, and you then, because you're using the interview to pull out the kind of pertinent skills that you think are required to work in your business, such as the listening skills and the ability to, I guess, be calm under pressure, problem solve. So what are the sort of questions that you might ask in interview? And also, is there anything that you're specifically looking for when someone turns up? You know, what are the must-haves? You know, it's 10 o'clock. you've got somebody turning up at 10 o'clock for an interview. What are the minimum expectations, standards, I suppose I'm saying?
So we're fairly relaxed, and I try and make a point about that before the interview. So in the communications we have before, so I don't expect people to turn up in a suit. We certainly don't wear suits and ties and stuff to work. But equally, someone to show some effort to be presentable. We've had people turn up in manky t-shirts and jeans, and that's clearly far too far the other way. But equally, if someone, I think the effort is appreciated if someone does put a tie and a nice shirt and stuff on. Even at school now, a lot of people don't wear that kind of stuff, so we tend to try and or I tend to say, feel free to take your tie off, we're not wearing one, and just try and relax people initially at that point. Obviously communicating beforehand, kind of starting the wrong way around there, but confirming that you can attend, and just being generally courteous and responsive to what the conversation in advance. And just make sure you're there a few minutes early. Again, don't turn up 40 minutes early or anything kind of too crazy, but we're in Chalfont, and it's not it's not central London. There's not loads of buses and loads of trains and things for choice, so make sure you get the bus earlier than the one you need to if you're coming by public transport, just to get there and give yourself a chance, because you don't want to be stressed either, let alone give a bad impression for being late. I did have somebody once, they said hello, and then the next question before I even had a chance to offer them a drink was, how long do you think this is going to take, because my mum's waiting? And I wish I'd made that up, I really do. And it's not often I'm lost for words, I don't always have the right words, but it's very rare that I don't know what to say, and I was completely flabbergasted by that one.
I mean, that could be taken into
honest,
though. Yeah, it's honest, and also they're worried about their mum sitting outside in the car park. So, but I think it nerves, do you think?
That's how you ask it.
I think they were obviously concerned about it, and you don't know what's going on, all of the history and everything that's happened, but I guess I would have liked them to have sort of said how long in advance, maybe have said, because I guess they knew.
They could have asked you before. Yes.
How long do you think it's going to take? And then they could have already understood that. And that's the way I guess I would have preferred that to have happened. I like honesty, and actually, one of, again, particularly when you're young and you haven't had lots of jobs or whatever, I think just being straight and open and being transparent almost is what it's about for me, and that's true whether that's not just true because you're young, that's true for everybody, and that's how we work. But
sure.
I appreciated the honesty. I can't dispute that, but I think that was a bit too much.
Well, here's the thing. So when you answered and said we're going to be here for 4.5 hours, because that's what our interview process is, did they say, well, can I just run out to my mum and let her know?
I think we laughed in the end. I wish I'd been not so caught off guard. I could have had some fun with that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's really good. Yeah, but tomorrow, did you bring a tent?
Yeah.
Oh, fabulous. So what's been your favorite interview question to ask? If you have a stock favorite. I mean, obviously there's the one about,
is your mum outside? Is she waiting for you?
Are we on a deadline?
Yeah. Yes.
I think I can't actually take full credit for this, but it's slightly unfair on the younger person, but I've added it to most of our questions in a variation, but obviously there is pressure, there is stress in what we do, and one of my ex-colleagues at a previous business, just off the cuff it was actually, but she just said, well, I'm going to give you a scenario, and it's the PA to a CEO of a business, and she needs to print a report, and the printer's not working, and it's 5:25 or whatever it was. What would you do? And basically, whatever you say, there's just a response, because you keep saying, no, that doesn't work, and you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, because it's slightly unfair in some respects, but it really gives you that understanding of the feeling of pressure. And most people squirm, even people that have been doing this for a long time, because in reality, that the second or third thing they say probably would resolve it in majority of occasions, but you're really trying to get to the point of saying, well, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do, but not giving up too early is really what the question's about. But yeah, we've had some quite experienced people really struggle with that, because they're just, I guess, people are on edge and uncomfortable. We're we're in control when we're interviewing, I suppose. But
Yeah.
it's
And-
variations of that, but just pushing and pushing and pushing. There's not an answer. You just got to keep trying.
Yeah. You're breaking the mold a little bit, because normally in an interview it's question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. And what you're doing there is question, answer, doesn't work, answer, doesn't work, answer, doesn't work, answer. And seeing whether they start getting a little bit, you can see in their eyes if they're getting a little bit frustrated with you.
Yep.
So it actually completely replicates what could happen in that scenario.
And you're spot on, actually, because some people do get frustrated and you can see it quite quickly, and clearly that's a red flag.
Not great.
Whereas most people just feel a bit awkward and end up laughing and that kind of stuff, because they just really don't know what to say. After
Do you think it
number of times.
matters? Do you think it matters if they answer it 3 times and then go, do you know what, actually, I don't know what I would do? Are you happy if they do that?
A big part of it is, again, it's honesty. So you've got to say, well, I don't know. But of course, well, what do you do in that situation is the question, because it's then, well, I try and speak to somebody else, or I do this or I do that, and not giving up too soon, because I think there is an element with a lot of people that they just go, oh, I don't know, and that's okay, just to accept that you don't know. But it's, no, I don't know, but I would do blah blah, whatever.
Or I might try this, or try.
I would phone them, or I would try and talk to one of the other team, or I don't know.
This always
one person who said they would get in the car and offer to take it away and print it and bring it back. It's just about thinking about.
Oh, please tell me you hired them.
Sadly,
I
the
love
rest of the
that.
stuff they did wasn't great, but that was a great offer.
Damn it.
But yeah, again, it's just it is. I don't know. It's not really thinking outside the box as such, but it's just understanding the pressure that the person on the end of the phone is under.
Yes. Empathy.
That you're trying to help, and obviously doing whatever you can to do it. To help them to fix it, to get to the end.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's one of those urban myths, but I'm reminded of this story of somebody who rings an IT support department, and the guy on the other, they go through this process, and everything this woman tries doesn't work. So try this, try that, and at the end, the guy says, "Okay, well, look, there might be a fault with the plug or the setup that you're at. Why don't we try? Can you try plugging it in elsewhere?" And she turns around and says, "Well, that's not going to help, because we're in the middle of a power cut." So
I've heard,
So the guy says, "Okay, well, what I'd like you to do is, have you got the box for the PC? And she's like, "Okay, I'd like you to unplug it, put it back in the box, and then send it back to us." "Why do I need to do that?" "Because you're clearly too dumb to have a personal
You don't deserve to have a PC.
I really hope it's true. Because I just want someone to have got to that point where they just know that that's the right thing.
It's just no helping some people.
Exactly.
That's very funny.
Yeah,
I love that.
Problem is, and I guess being fair, people get themselves in a mess when they're in a stress and in a flap and what have you, and that could be true because they just made a stupid mistake. Hopefully, I could believe it.
So, but the story is relevant because really that last question, your favorite question, that's about putting people under pressure, right to the very end of their tether, if you can, to see how they would cope in that situation. Because that's the job, I suppose, isn't it? It's dealing with people who maybe computers isn't their first language, if you like, or IT isn't their first language, and having to translate what you take for granted into a language that they can understand, and that can be really frustrating when somebody doesn't get it. I guess.
I mean, there's so much about the communication back to the person at the other end, and I'm sure that's true for other industries and roles, but we are, translating, as you say, often what someone's saying into what we can do, and then back into what they would understand again, and it's, you've got to be patient, you've got to be able to talk and to work it out and think of ways to explain stuff that people understand. That the reality is people use computers because they have to, not necessarily because they want to. If you don't know that when you start, you get to know it pretty quickly. We've certainly got companies we work with that wouldn't use a computer if they didn't have to, and they would still be using paper and all of that kind of stuff.
Especially in that sort of regulated industry.
Yeah,
definitely
indeed.
see that. So coming back to the interviews. So last question about the interviews. Is there a a piece of advice you would give a young person when they're going into their first interview, situation? What if they could take one thing with them to carry in their head into that room as a piece of armor that Olly Denhard has given them, what would it be?
I think just be confident that you're there in the first place, and you've got nothing to really lose. But you haven't. It's all experience. Clearly, you don't want to lose the opportunity to get the job, but I think easier said than done. But be happy that you're there in the first place, and try and take the most you can from the opportunity, and get something from it. And don't worry. Clearly, there's skills about interviews and knowing certain things to say and preparing certain stuff, but just being open and honest with it, and just being you, because you're going to be you if you get the job, and people are going to realize that pretty quickly. Don't try and fake it right at the beginning.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good point, and I'm sure Helen knows the stats. I might be putting her under pressure here, but far better than I do. But for every person that gets an interview, how many hundreds of CVs have been rejected and haven't even got through to that point? Does that make sense? And, I've seen recruiters at work quite brutally, and it can be 5 miles outside of the area, discard.
Yes. Yeah.
So actually, I think you're right. The fact you're in that room, you've earned the right to be in that room, and it's a opportunity of equality, I suppose. It's not them grilling you; it's both ways, and you've earned the right to be in that room.
And also to remember that even if they come and interview with you, Olly, you might not be right for them, and that's okay as well. I had someone,
a friend of mine about 2 weeks ago said they were interviewing for like an office manager role, and he said, well, I felt like I was being interviewed, and I burst out laughing. I was like, well, that's good, they're interested. Like, they wouldn't do that if they didn't want to talk to you, or that didn't want the job. They're not there because they've got to go and do something that afternoon. They obviously want to know about it. So
and a good office manager, that's exactly the type of approach you need, actually. So that tick.
I suspect he's bitten off more than he can chew there, because she's probably going to run him, but that's what he needs. But anyway, that's
an office manager. Absolutely.
That's the whole point.
That's
the whole point. That's
good. Really good.
Olly, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your time and your experience and your wisdom.
Thank you.
People listen to this, that's been amazing. If people want to reach out to you, what's the easiest way? If anyone listening just wants,
probably
maybe a job in IT or customer service.
We haven't got any roles right now, but I'm certainly happy to look at apprentices and stuff in the future, without a doubt. So I'd be more than happy to. Probably LinkedIn's the easiest place, just Olly Denhard. I think there's only one of me.
There is only one.
There is only one of your brother as well.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, he talks about that more loudly than I do.
Yes, he does. Super. Actually, we have to get Danny on as well. That'd be good. Yeah,
I'm sure he'll have some insights on it. I'm sure he's got much more sort of technical, tactical stuff than how I've gone about it. So it might be interesting.
Cool. Brilliant. Thank you, Olly. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Olly.
Your insight.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.